Well, it sure is a soaker of a morning across particularly northwestern England and the north of Wales, southwestern Scotland as I speak. Thanks for clicking on to the Wednesday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. Upwards of 100 millimetres, 4 inches of rain is expected across parts of the Lake District as this feature eventually pulls away. So localized flooding is pretty much inevitable with this. We've got a fairly substantial plume of moisture extending into the central subtropical Atlantic at the moment. So that is feeding in a lot of moisture and, of course, bringing all that rainfall. We've seen plenty of rain across the upslopes of western Scotland through the night. That frontal system is now sitting over the northwest of England, and eventually it will start to push south and east, followed in behind by blustery westerly winds and shower activity. As we go through the remainder of this week, folks, we start to turn our eyes towards the tropical storm Ophelia. Still at the moment a tropical storm, but expected by the National Hurricane Center to become a hurricane just to the north or northeast of the Azores. It is expected to take a track fairly close to Iberia, but it looks as if it's going to remain off Iberia and take a track northwards through the weekend. What is going to be very interesting with this feature is the fact that it could pump quite a lot of not just moisture northwards and wind energy, but also a lot of heat with it as well. Wouldn't surprise me if we see some records falling for mid and late October across parts of, say, northern France and the UK overall. We could really be talking about some very interesting warmth, especially at night time. So a lot of things going on as we go towards the weekend here, folks. But certainly that frontal system pushes through. We're met by a little bit of a ridge. Under clear skies and later winds, we might see a touch of frost in some rural areas through the course of tonight and into tomorrow morning. And then as we go into the day on Thursday, we've got another system coming through. So this parade of Atlantic low pressure continues. Nothing really changing in any way. Very mild flow as well, southwesterly winds. And of course, the southeast of England could be talking about potentially mid 20s, believe it or not, Friday or Saturday. That frontal system then kind of hangs about over the northern half of the UK, may lead to some fairly sizable rain totals. It's basically sitting in the northern flank of this area of high pressure, very large, dominant area of high pressure over Europe. And what we've got is we've got low pressure up near Iceland. That strong high pressure centered over the Balkans. And of course, we're stuck here in Scotland right beneath that boundary between the two systems here. So a lot of moisture getting pumped northeast from Ophelia, as you can see here. And we'll need to watch this scenario quite closely with regards to rainfall amounts. But in comes Ophelia here. You can see we've got another system to the north of that still hurricane at this stage, and it's getting fairly close here. Maybe talking three or 400 miles to the west of Portugal. We have seen this before, but of course, since 1851, we have not seen a hurricane make any landfall in Europe for good reason as well. Water temperatures, even at this time, despite being warmer than normal, may I add, do read the written post if you get a chance. Despite warmer than normal water between the Azores and Spain and Portugal, they're only in at best the low 20s, and certainly up against the coast you're only talking about 18, 19 degrees. So of course water temperatures far too cool to support a fully tropical system. We might get some tropical energy, tropical properties still within that feature, but what is going to get interesting is as this tropical entity reaches the more hostile mid-latitude region, cooler waters, it interacts with another system, that very system to the north, and it could explode into a very deep area of low pressure. You notice here it starts to merge with that feature to the north. It takes that turn to the north, so it's avoiding Spain and Portugal, might increase the wave activity, of course, up and down the Iberian coast. But it's all eyes as we go towards late week and into the weekend, and through into next week. the model indicates that the remains of Ophelia merges with another area of low pressure, deepens, becomes a very powerful area of low pressure, and of course with southerly winds as well, could be talking about some very, very warm air getting lifted north. Look at this here, 952 millibars to the west of Ireland here. Look at the squeeze in the isobars indicating gale or severe gale force winds across Ireland overall. Could be talking about some very strong winds even across the British Isles as well. But this is an interesting scenario. Very warm, but also potentially very stormy as we go into the day on Monday. And eventually that system lifts to the north. Strongest winds transfer over Scotland. We've got that feature eventually pushing up towards Iceland and bending round. If you notice here, it's caught in an upper level vortex here. And what we're going to start to see is we're going to see this main feature, Ophelia, the remnants of Ophelia, tracking to the north and northwest. An unusual track, of course, but it's caught in an upper level trough here. What we're going to see is we're going to see more systems on the southern flank of that system that essentially Ophelia has created this trough here in its wake. We've got other features forming on that southern flank, and we could be seeing more tropical energy lifting up into the British Isles here. So a very interesting scenario as we go into the early part of next week. You can see these multiple areas of low pressure making influence on the UK and Western Europe as a whole. Quite a messy picture, quite an unsettled picture. No sign of anything settling down in the near or medium range, even the long range, to be honest, as well. So keep your eyes posted here. Keep your eyes focused on markfoganweather.com. I'll keep you up to date as best I can, and I'll be back in the next couple of days with more on YouTube and the website. Bye for now.